What if you could see beyond death? Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet from Hopkinsville, Kentucky, unlocked secrets of the afterlife, visions of a realm where souls evolve, love endures, and mysteries unfold. In Unveiled Wisdom of Edgar Cayce, what awaits in the afterlife? Sarah Thompson, a Louisville librarian haunted by her father's death, discovers Cayce's truths through a dream that changes everything. Will her journey answer the ultimate question, what lies beyond? Like, subscribe, and hit the bell to uncover the soul's hidden path. Sarah Thompson was no stranger to grief. 5 years ago, her father, Robert, died suddenly in their Louisville home, a heart attack stealing him before she could say goodbye. At 38, Sarah worked as a librarian, surrounded by books, but haunted by questions no page could answer. Where was her father now? Did his soul find peace? Or was he lost somewhere beyond her reach? She remembered his warm laugh, his stubborn debates over Sunday dinners, and the way he'd hug her tight, promising everything would be okay. But nothing felt okay anymore. Night after night, she lay awake, wondering if he knew she loved him, if he forgave her for the fights they'd had. Sarah wasn't one for churches or sermons. Her faith was in stories, in the wisdom tucked between dusty covers. She'd read about near-death experiences, ancient mystics, and philosophies from far-off lands, but none brought her closer to her father. Then, one grey afternoon in the library's quiet esoteric section, she found a book that felt different. There is a river, it was called, the story of Edgar Cayce, a man from Hopkinsville, Kentucky, just a few hours from her home. Cayce wasn't a preacher or a scholar. He was a simple photographer who, in a trance, could see truths hidden from the waking world. They called him the sleeping prophet, a man who spoke of souls, destinies, and what lies beyond death. Sarah took the book home, her hands trembling as she turned its pages. Cayce claimed the afterlife wasn't a far-off heaven or hell, but a journey of growth, where souls learn from their lives and prepare for the next. He spoke of a cosmic library, a record of every thought, every deed, every heart's longing. This idea struck Sarah like lightning. Could her father's story be written there, waiting for her to understand? She scribbled a question in her journal. What awaits us in the afterlife? It wasn't just words, it was a plea, a cry to the universe for answers. The more Sarah read, the more Cayce's life fascinated her. Born in 1877, he grew up on a farm, a quiet boy who saw visions even as a child. By his 20s, he discovered he could enter a deep sleep and answer questions about health, love, and the mysteries of existence. People came from across America, desperate for his wisdom. Doctors, lawyers, even skeptics left his sessions in awe, their doubts shaken by his uncanny accuracy. What drew Sarah wasn't just his predictions, but his compassion. Cayce believed every soul had a purpose, every life a lesson, and death was only a doorway to something greater. Sarah started visiting the library's archives, digging for more about Cayce. She found old letters, faded articles, and recordings of his trance readings. One passage stopped her cold. The soul never dies. It moves through realms, carrying love and learning, forever bound to those it cherishes. She thought of her father, of the arguments she regretted, of the love she never fully expressed. Could he still feel her heart, as Cayce suggested? The thought brought tears, but also a spark of hope. She began talking to colleagues, even strangers, about Cayce. At a Louisville coffee shop, she met Clara, a retiree who'd studied Cayce for decades. Clara's eyes lit up as she shared how Cayce's words had eased her fear of death, giving her peace after losing her husband. "His visions show us we're never truly gone," Clara said. Sarah left the conversation changed. Her question what awaits us in the afterlife felt closer to an answer. But she needed more. She needed to know if Cayce's truths could heal her wounds and bring her closer to her father. Sarah Thompson's world had shifted since finding Edgar Cayce's book. Her question, what awaits us in the afterlife, burned in her heart, a quiet fire that kept her awake. One stormy night in Louisville, as rain battered her apartment windows, Sarah fell into a sleep deeper than any she'd known. She found herself standing in a golden field, the air alive with a hum she couldn't name. Stars above swirled in patterns that felt familiar, like a memory she'd forgotten. A man approached, his face kind but ageless, his clothes simple, like a farmer from another time. His eyes held a knowing light, as if he'd seen the edges of eternity. "Who are you?" Sarah asked, her voice trembling with awe. "I'm your guide," he said, his words steady, warm. "You've called to know the afterlife. I'll show you what Edgar Cayce saw." Before she could speak, the field vanished. She stood in a city of light, its towers glowing with colours she'd never imagined, blues deeper than oceans, golds warmer than the sun. Souls moved around her, their forms shimmering, some alone in quiet thought, others locked in embraces that spoke of reunions long awaited. The air felt thick with purpose, with love. Sarah's heart raced. Was this the afterlife Cayce described? A place not of judgment, but of becoming. Her guide led her to a shimmering pool, its surface rippling with images. A soul stood beside it, watching scenes from a life, moments of joy, mistakes, unspoken words. The soul's face was calm, not pained, as if it understood something profound. "Here, we see our lives clearly," the guide said. "Every choice, every love, shapes the soul." Cayce taught that the afterlife is a mirror, reflecting what we've built and what we still must learn. Sarah stared at the pool, her mind flooding with thoughts of her father, Robert. She saw his face in her memory, his crooked smile, the way he'd hum old jazz tunes. Could his life be reflected in a pool like this? "What do they learn?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "They learn truth," the guide said. "Not to suffer, but to grow. Every kindness adds light. Every regret is a seed for wisdom." Sarah's guide gestured, and the city of light shifted. They stood in a vast garden, where souls drifted like fireflies, each glowing with a unique hue. Some were bright, others faint, but all seemed alive, connected. "This is a place of healing," the guide said. Cayce spoke of planes of existence, stages where souls rest, reflect, and prepare. Here, they mend what was broken in life. Sarah watched a soul, dim at first, grow brighter as another approached, their lights merging in a silent exchange. It felt like forgiveness, like love unspoken finally set free. She thought of her father again, of the fights they'd had, her sharp words, his stubborn silence. "Is my father here?" she asked, her throat tight. "He's on his own path," the guide said gently. "But know this love binds you across realms. He feels your heart, Sarah, as you feel his." The words hit her like a wave. She wanted to ask more, but the guide led her to a temple, its walls pulsing with light. Inside, souls gathered, their voices a soft hum of intention. This is where souls plan their next lives. The guide said, Cayce saw that each life is a chapter, chosen with purpose. Every soul returns to Earth to learn, to love, to heal. Sarah saw a young soul, radiant with courage, studying a tapestry of images, future moments, challenges, joys. It was preparing to live again, to face a new story. They choose their paths, she asked, stunned. Yes, the guide said, with wisdom from all their lives, guided by love. Your father chose his path, as you chose yours. Sarah's mind spun. If Cayce was right, her father's life, his joys, his pain was part of a larger plan. Could she trust that he was safe? That their love still held the temple's light seemed to answer, wrapping her in warmth. The guide took Sarah's hand, and they stood on a cliff overlooking an endless sea of stars. Each star pulsed, as if alive, linked by threads of light. This is the unity of all souls, the guide said. Cayce taught that we are never alone. Every soul is part of a greater whole, connected through time, through love. Sarah felt a pull, a longing she couldn't name. She thought of her father's last days, the words she never said. Can I see him? She asked, tears in her voice. The guide's eyes softened. Not yet, Sarah. But feel this, his love is here, woven into the light around you. In the afterlife, no love is lost. She closed her eyes, and for a moment, she felt it a warmth, a whisper of her father's presence, like his hand brushing hers. It wasn't enough, but it was something. What does Cayce say happens next? She asked, desperate to understand. The soul moves forward. The guide said, some rest, some learn, some return. Cayce saw the afterlife as a cycle of growth, where every step brings you closer to truth. Your father's journey continues, as does yours. Sarah looked at the stars, each one a story, a soul. She thought of Cayce's words from Clara's stories, about love binding souls forever. Could she carry this truth back to her life? Could it heal the ache in her heart? The guide smiled, as if reading her thoughts. You'll carry this with you, he said. Your question what awaits us in the afterlife is answered in what you choose to become. The dream began to fade, the stars blurring. Sarah reached out, wanting to stay, but the guide's voice lingered. Live with love, Sarah. It's the key to every realm. Her question wasn't fully answered, but it felt closer, like a light just beyond her grasp. Sarah Thompson woke with a gasp, her heart pounding as the stars from her dream faded. The rain outside her Louisville apartment had softened to a drizzle. But the world felt different, as if the air held a trace of the light she'd seen. Her journal lay open on the nightstand. Her question, what awaits us in the afterlife, etched in bold ink. The guide's words echoed in her mind. Live with love, Sarah. It's the key to every realm. She sat up, her hands trembling. Was it just a dream, or had she touched something real? Something Edgar Cayce had seen in his trances. She reached for There Is a River, flipping to a passage she'd marked. Cayce wrote that dreams could be doorways to truth, glimpses of the soul's deeper knowing. The afterlife, he said, was a cycle of growth, where souls moved through stages, learning from love and loss. Sarah thought of the city of light, the healing garden, the sea of stars. Each felt like a piece of her father, Robert, like a message he'd left behind. She whispered his name, hoping he could hear her across the realms. That morning, as she walked to the library, Louisville's streets seemed brighter, the autumn leaves glowing with purpose. She passed a bookstore and stopped, drawn to a display of Cayce's readings. One title caught her eye, The Soul's Journey. She bought it, her fingers tracing the cover. Inside, Cayce described how love binds souls, even after death. Sarah's chest tightened. Could she live this truth? Could she honour her father by becoming the person he'd always believed she could be? Sarah's days began to change. She volunteered at a hospice in Louisville, sitting with those nearing their own journeys beyond. She listened to their stories, regrets, joys, unspoken loves, seeing her father in every face. One patient, an old man named Henry, reminded her of Robert. His hands shook as he spoke of his daughter, estranged for years. Sarah held his hand, urging him to write her a letter, to say what mattered. "It's never too late," she said, her voice steady. Henry smiled, tears in his eyes. Sarah felt a warmth, as if her father were there, nodding in approval. Back home, she wrote her own letter to Robert. She poured out everything, the fights she regretted, the love she'd held back, the gratitude for his stubborn, beautiful heart. Under a starry sky, she burned the letter, watching the ashes rise like sparks to the heavens. For the first time in years, she felt lighter, as if her words had reached him. Cayce's teachings rang. True love wasn't bound by time or death. It was a bridge, a light that never faded. Sarah dug deeper into Cayce's work, joining a study group at a Louisville community center. There, she met others like Clara, seekers who'd found peace in his words. One woman, Maya, shared how Cayce's visions helped her forgive her mother's absence. "He showed me we're all connected," Maya said. Sarah nodded, thinking of the sea of stars, the threads of light. She began to see her life differently, not as a series of losses, but as a chance to grow, to love more fiercely. One evening, at the study group, Sarah shared her dream. Her voice shook as she described the city of light, the guide's words, the feeling of her father's presence. The room was silent, every face rapt. Clara, her eyes bright, spoke up. Cayce said dreams are the soul's language. You've seen what he saw. Sarah, now, live it. Those words struck deep. Sarah realized her question. What awaits us in the afterlife wasn't just about her father. It was about her own path, her own choices. She started small. She called her estranged cousin, mending a rift she'd ignored for years. She smiled at strangers, offered kindness without expecting return. Each act felt like a step toward the light she'd seen. One night, as she shelved books in the library, a worn copy of There Is a River slipped from a shelf, landing open at a page she'd never noticed. It read, "The soul's purpose is to love, to serve, to become one with all." Sarah froze. Was it chance, or a sign from Robert? She chose to believe it was him, guiding her still. Sarah's grief hadn't vanished, but it had softened. She no longer lay awake, haunted by questions. Cayce's wisdom and her dream had given her a map not just for the afterlife, but for this life. She knew her father was on his journey, safe in a realm of light, and she would live hers, carrying his love until their souls met again. Sarah Thompson's journey began with a single question. What awaits us in the afterlife? through a dream that carried her to realms of light. Guided by the wisdom of Edgar Cayce, she found not just answers, but a new way to live. Her story is more than her own. It's a mirror for all of us, reflecting the truths Cayce shared from his trances in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. His visions, drawn from decades of readings, paint a picture of the afterlife not as a distant end, but as a continuation of the soul's endless quest. Every step Sarah took, from grief to hope, shows us what Cayce knew our lives here shape what comes next. Cayce taught that the afterlife is a tapestry of growth, woven from our choices. There's no eternal fire waiting, no final judgment to fear. Instead, there are stages, planes of existence where souls reflect, heal, and plan. Sarah saw this in her dream, the city of light where lives are reviewed, the garden where wounds are mended, the temple where futures are chosen. Each soul carries its love, its lessons, forward. For Sarah, this meant her father. Robert wasn't gone. His laughter, his stubborn heart, lived on in a realm where love binds souls forever. She learned to trust that he was safe, growing, just as she was. This truth isn't just for Sarah. It's for you, for me, for anyone who's ever lost someone or wondered what lies beyond. Cayce's message is clear. The afterlife isn't separate from this life. Every act of kindness, every moment of courage, builds your soul's light. Every mistake, every regret, is a chance to learn. Sarah's letter to Robert, burned under Louisville's starry sky, wasn't just closure. It was a step toward becoming more. What steps are you taking? What light are you building in your own soul? Sarah's transformation shows us how to live Cayce's wisdom. She didn't just read his words, she acted on them. Volunteering at the Louisville hospice, she saw her father in every patient, like Henry, whose letter to his daughter echoed her own. She joined a study group, finding kinship with Clara and Maya, who showed her that Cayce's teachings heal across generations. Maya's forgiveness of her mother, Clara's peace after losing her husband, these were living proof that love transcends death. Sarah's small acts mending ties with her cousin, smiling at strangers weren't grand, but they were profound. They were her way of answering Cayce's call to live with purpose. This call is for all of us. Cayce believed every soul has a mission, a unique thread in the tapestry of existence. Your mission might be a quiet one, listening to a friend, forgiving a wrong, or simply choosing joy in a hard moment. These choices ripple beyond this life, just as Sarah's did. When she shared her dream at the study group, her voice trembling with the memory of stars, she inspired others to seek their own truths. Clara's words, "Live it," became a mantra for Sarah. And they can be yours. What's stopping you from living with that kind of intention? What's one small act you could do today to brighten your soul's path? Cayce's vision offers hope, but it demands action. He saw the afterlife as a school, not a courtroom. There, souls don't face punishment, but opportunity to grow, to love, to become more. Sarah learned this when she felt Robert's presence in the falling book, in the warmth of her hospice work. She stopped asking, "Where is he?" and started asking, "How can I live better?" That shift changed everything. It's a shift we can all make, no matter our beliefs, no matter our pain. Let's step back and see the bigger picture. Cayce's teachings, born in a small Kentucky town, have touched millions because they speak to something universal. We all want to know our lives matter. Sarah's story shows they do. Her grief for Robert, her dream. Her choices, they're part of a larger story, one that connects us all. Cayce saw souls as stars in a vast sea, linked by threads of light. You're one of those stars. Your love, your struggles, your dreams, they weave into the lives of others, here and beyond. Think of the people in Sarah's life. Clara, who found peace through Cayce's words. Henry, who wrote to his daughter because Sarah urged him. Maya, who forgave because she saw her mother's soul in a new light. These connections aren't random. They're the work of souls choosing to grow together. Cayce taught that we plan our lives with others, agreeing to meet, to challenge, to love. Your family, your friends, even strangers, they're part of your soul's plan. Who in your life needs your light right now? Who might be waiting for you to take that step, This is where Cayce's wisdom shines brightest. The afterlife isn't just about what happens after death. It's about how you live now. Sarah learned to carry Robert's love, not as a weight, but as a guide. She chose to live with courage, to forgive herself, to serve others. That choice made her dream real, not just a fleeting vision. You have that power too. Every day, you're writing your soul's story. What will your next chapter say? Will it be one of fear or one of love? Sarah's journey ends where ours begins. She didn't find all the answers her question. What awaits us in the afterlife still lingers, a light just beyond reach. But she found enough to keep going. Cayce's wisdom gave her a map, not just for the realms beyond, but for the life she's living now. She knows Robert is safe, his soul moving through stages of growth, just as hers is. She knows their love will bring them together again, in this life or another. That knowing changed her. It can change you. So, what does this mean for us? Cayce's message is simple, yet profound. Live with love. Forgive fiercely, not because others deserve it, but because your soul does. Serve others, not for reward, but because it weaves your light into the world. Sarah did this in small ways, listening at the hospice, sharing her dream, picking up the phone to heal old wounds. You can too. Start today. Reach out to someone you've lost touch with. Offer a kind word. Let go of a grudge. These acts are your soul's currency, building a legacy that echoes into eternity. Cayce's vision is a call to action. He saw the afterlife as a promise that no soul is lost, that every life has purpose. Sarah's story proves it. Her dream wasn't an escape, it was a guide, showing her how to live better. As you watch this, think about your own story. What's your question? What's your dream? Maybe it's not as vivid as Sarah's, but it's there, in the quiet moments, in the love you feel, in the choices you make. This is the heart of Unveiled Wisdom of Edgar Cayce. What awaits in the afterlife? It's not just about what lies beyond, it's about what lies within you. Live boldly, love deeply, know that your soul's light is eternal, connected to every other, across time, across realms. Sarah carries this truth, and so can you. Like, subscribe, and share your story in the comments. What's one choice you'll make to live with love today? Sarah Thompson's journey, guided by Edgar Cayce's wisdom, showed us the afterlife is a promise of love and growth. From her Louisville home to the stars of her dream, she found hope in knowing Robert's soul endures. Cayce's words from Hopkinsville teach us all live with love, and your light will shine beyond this life. What's your story? Have you felt a sign, a dream, that hints at what lies beyond? Share it in the comments we're listening. like, subscribe, and hit the bell to explore more mysteries of the soul. Carry this truth, your love is eternal. Keep seeking and let your heart guide you.